Possible to look at someone's hands and figure out what their karma is and the best way to release it. And in this video, I'm going to teach you how to do just that. Hey guys, welcome back to Chariot Palmistry. My name is Sulabh Jain, and on this channel we talk about palmistry as a spiritual tool to help you navigate your life. So if you want to learn about that kind of thing, make sure you hit subscribe. But in this video, we're talking about how to use palmistry to identify and release karma. And we're making this video because Utkarsh asked the question, I would love to know your insight on the ways to release karma. What are the ways to minimize the negative impact of karma buildup? Great video as always. I love getting questions like this because palmistry is fundamentally a spiritual tool. It was always designed to answer questions like this and not so much about fortune predicting or telling the future. Like, yes, you can use palmistry to predict, when someone will get a job, but the real purpose of palmistry is to figure out karma and how to release it. And I want to teach you guys a 3-step process in order to do just this. First, we're going to figure out what sort of karma people have. Then we're going to figure out where it's trapped on the lines on the hands. And then we're going to figure out the best way to release it. So the first thing I want you guys to do is have a look at your hands and see if you have the line of bad karma and if you have the line of good karma. Both of these go to about the same point on the hand, but they start at opposite ends of the hand. The line of bad karma is all about addictions, it's all about getting into negative behaviors and thought patterns. Whereas the line of good karma is all about receiving sort of fame from the world, success, and all these sorts of things. So I'll show you guys a couple examples of different hands of people, just so you can get an idea of how this works. So we can see on this hand here, for example, there's not much of a bad karma line. But there's quite a thick and prominent good karma line, meaning this guy has been born into this world to release his good karma. Now that may sound like a good thing, but actually the ideal space to be is to have no karma at all. See, good karma makes you successful, powerful, brings you envy of other people. That gets you caught up in the karmic trap. So although you've got good karma in this life, you don't want so much of it that it's out of balance. Now this hand over here, there's 2 bad karma lines, but there's also 2 good karma lines. So this is a person whose life's going to swing at extremes. Extreme good and extreme bad. And she's been born to experience the highs and lows of life. This hand over here, we can see one very, very thick bad karma line. We can see 2 very, very thick good karma lines. So this person, once again, on the balance of things, has more good karma to release in this life than bad karma. Okay, so now we know that, let's have a look at figuring out where their karma is trapped. It's in what part of their life that karma is trapped in, and also what the cause of that trap is. Because if you figure out how that happens, then releasing that bad energy is very, very easy. So let's have a look at some hands to see if we can identify where the karmic traps are within the zodiac. And in a general sense, what you want to be looking for is horizontal lines in the area of Taurus. All the energy in Taurus, for some reason, seems to get stuck, and then it gets pushed to the opposite side of the zodiac into Scorpio. So the horizontal lines here have to do with malefic energy, and these areas of the zodiac are the points of energy, or where they activate. So if you have horizontal lines in the area of Taurus, you may also have them in the area of Scorpio. By the way, any malefic energy in Scorpio doesn't get pushed out of there. For some reason, it just seems to recycle itself back into Scorpio. And for some reason, the energy here has to do with relationships. And I'll come back and I'll explain what I mean by that in just a moment, but let me show you the other 2 zodiac traps over here too. The other big one is in Virgo. The energy over here seems to get pushed right up into Cancer. And to identify if you have malefic energy in Virgo, you won't see horizontal lines here like you do in Taurus. You're going to notice crosses at the very base of the finger. And the third energetic trap is within Pisces. For some reason, energy from Capricorn gets pushed right down into here and it gets trapped there. And just like Virgo, you can tell if you've got malefic energy here by crosses in this part of the hand. Although it is possible that you'll get horizontal lines here as well, but they won't be as thick. Okay, so putting all of this together, what does this mean? Now, for those of you who are into astrology, you'll notice the signs that I've pointed out here are the water signs and the earth signs. That's where karmic energy gets trapped and therefore has to be released. The other two signs, fire and air, they seem to release karmic energy very quickly. So let's see if we can identify a pattern here. Remember I was saying before that Taurus holds energy with relationships? Well, the Virgo Cancer trap, that holds energy that has to do with friendships. And the Capricorn Pisces trap, that has to do with energy that deals with wealth. So you got relationships, friendships, and wealth. And if we were to reword those into like more of a negative context, we could rephrase relationships as lust. We could rename friendships as envy. And we could rename wealth as greed. You know, these are the three cardinal sins, right? That's where you get bad karma from. And if we were to assign a planet to each one of these sins, we would say that lust is associated with Venus, envy is associated with the dark side of the sun, and greed is associated with the negativity of Mercury. And all three of these planets are actually the ones that are inside the Earth's orbit. In other words, the Sun, Mercury, and Venus are most likely to get you to bind your karma. Now let's have a look at examples. On this person's hand, we can see the malefic energy in Taurus. And you can see it sort of imprints itself in Leo a little bit as well. And there's obviously a big cross happening here in Virgo. So we could say that this person has malefic energy or malefic karmic energy dealing with relationships and also envy. This person has a couple different lines here in the Pisces area. There's a little bit of negative lines within Scorpio, but we're not going to worry too much about that. Capricorn to Pisces is the trap that we want to release this person from. So one challenge this person is going to have throughout their lives is that of greed. It's always going to come back to bite them whenever they push too hard materially in life. This person over here has a very big cross in Virgo. So one thing they're going to have reoccurring throughout their lives is people being jealous of them. Okay, so now we know whether there's good karma or bad karma sitting on your hands. We also know the karmic traps that you've been falling into, perhaps over several lifetimes. The third step now is to figure out how to release that energy. And there's really three ways to do this. The first is through meditation, study, and those sorts of insights. The second way to do it is through ascetic practices. Things like fasting, a vow of celibacy, a vow of not speaking, and things like that. And the third and most difficult way to shift your karma is simply by being born. When you were born, you suffer, and as you grow older, you get sick, and that's more suffering, and then you lose your loved ones, and you go through that whole cycle. That's the slowest and most difficult way to release your karma. So remember I was saying before how there's 3 planets within the Earth's orbit that bind your karma? Well, these 3 methods outside the Earth's orbit release your karma. That first one, gaining knowledge and wisdom, that's related to Jupiter. The second process there, that of ascetic practices, is related to Mars. And the third one, that of being born and suffering, that's a byword for Saturn. So in other words, to look at this from a more of a holistic approach, the planets inside the Earth's orbit, they bind your karma. The planets outside the Earth's orbit, they release your karma. And so now, applying this knowledge to the hands that we were showing you guys before, let's see if we can apply this knowledge onto the hands to assign spiritual practices to help release them of their karma. So remember this hand where we showed you the guy who was caught up in the envy trap? Perhaps in other lifetimes he was jealous of other people, and in this lifetime, others are going to be jealous of him. So the way to break out of this is to use Jupiter-based practices, which remember I was saying that's gaining knowledge, wisdom, and meditation. So for this person in particular, meditation is good. Now what's my logic for this? Virgo is ruled by Mercury, and the father of Mercury is Jupiter. These 2 planets don't get along in the zodiac. So what you want to do if you have blocked energy over here is take the opposite planet to this. So the opposite of Mercury is Jupiter. So Jupiterian practices will release you from this trap. Then we have a look at this hand here, and we can see that this person is caught up in relationship traps. In the past, they may have lusted over people they should not have, or perhaps in this lifetime, or vice versa. But all of this energy is coming from Taurus, which is ruled by Venus. And so what you want to do is implement the energy that is the opposite of Venus. In this case, that is Mars. People will tell you that the opposite of Venus is Jupiter. They would be correct to say that because you see, Venus is the teacher of the demons, whereas Jupiter is the teacher of the gods. And in that sense, yes, they are opposites. But in our context, what I want you to have a look at is that Mars is a planet that's closest to the Earth outside of its orbit, whereas Venus is a planet that's closest to the Earth inside its orbit. So they're opposites in that sense. So coming back to this person's hand, if we were to give some sort of spiritual remedy for this person, we would get them to implement the energy of Mars within their lifetime. Things such as fasting or vows that rein in the urges of the body. So our third example over here, this is a person who's karmically caught up in the greed trap. So the way to release that is to implement the energy of Saturn. And Saturn is all about suffering, I'm afraid. This is the longest and most difficult process to go through. You've either got to give away your money to those less needy, or you've got to do the opposite of what got you into this mess. Remember, the sun creates envy and Saturn is going to release it. 3-step process on how to identify and release karma. If you want to know how you got that karma and look into your past lives, click on this video over here where I talk about past lives with relationships. Otherwise, hit like and subscribe if you've learned something. Thanks a lot, guys.